Good evening, everybody. November 23rd, 2021. Taking a look at Bitcoin here today. So last night I noted that we potentially had this 1-2 down setup here. We would have expected an acceleration to 3 here and a break back above this level of 53 or 57.3. Kind of takes that off the table, at least as far as an impulse goes. We're certainly not looking at that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove that with the kind of caveat that, maybe it could do some sort of diagonal downwards to end. It would be something like this: ABC, here's 1, ABC, here's 2. So we may in fact have a 1 and a 2 and an ending diagonal. So we might see a choppy ABC down for 3, 4, and then finally 5 once again into this area down here, 52 to 53K. So that remains as a possibility, but the lack of an impulse down shows weakness on the bear's part. So even if we get there, at this point in time, I would not expect us to fall below that in any significant manner because of how weak this downward push has been. And just want to note here, if we look at this light purple count: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is what we're playing out, right? So I was looking for what was happening from here, 4 to 5, looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motion downwards. And like I said, it's not doing an impulse, but at this point in time, that is not yet off the table completely. If we look at the fib levels here, once again, I'd mentioned previously that it really needed to stay below this like 60.8K. That's the 0.5 fib right there. So that's kind of the level now it would need to break in order to kind of invalidate that altogether. So I'm going to keep that red line on there, 60.8K. And that would invalidate this larger 5 waves down that we're looking at. So right now, basically, we're looking at potentially a diagonal downwards within this larger 5-wave move. And from there, if we do get that, like I said last night, if we see this area here, it would pretty much break us down below the original diagonal scenario. That's this line I've got here. If we do in fact see that, in that choppy wave down like that, we will likely see a bounce from there in what is probably going to be a B wave, and it could go high. I mean, it could go all the way up back here to 63K, and from there I would then expect another move down, potentially into the 40s. So that is kind of the warning sign, is if we get this area here, I think it's likely we get a dead cat bounce and then a push down into the 40s. The other scenarios still in play. Like I said, if we broke this level, which we did, then it may signify that we're just going to expect some sideways chop here. Bitcoin can kind of just range right along here and kind of walk its way upwards along this bottom trend line for quite some time. I mean, that could take us all the way through the end of the month doing that, and potentially into December. I mean, it could really just chop for as long as it wants to. Right here in this area before it makes a decision as to whether or not it's going to break down or proceed upwards in the next leg up. So once again, the action is really unproductive right now. Nothing is happening off of the lows. The thing that we look for off of the lows, if this was going to be a double bottom and we were going to move strongly up, we would expect to see some sort of strong 5-wave move off of those lows. We've not seen that yet, and in fact this action right here, this kind of choppy spike action, may in fact take that off the table as a possibility as well. it seems, yeah, it's really not doing anything productive. This is not action that tells you anything. It doesn't give you any strong probabilities, basically. So I'm not super worried about Bitcoin giving a strong move right now, if that makes sense. I don't think that we're going to get a strong move down, below this area, and I also don't think we're going to get a strong move up anywhere from in here. I favor either a choppy move downwards or just chopping sideways at this point in time. Like I said, potentially through the end of this month, at a minimum, we may in fact see that. So, but we'll keep watching this low time frame action. If something more productive does appear at some point in time, then I will let you all know that. But this would be potentially a decent area to target for longs for a scalp. I would only scalp long this, right? If you grab some longs in this 52 to 53 area, it's difficult to say exactly where that would bounce to, but I would then be looking at this probably as a B wave bounce, like I said. So this being an A wave down, B wave typically would bounce to about the 0.5, which is right here at about 60K, but potentially could go higher, the 618 or so. I mean, B waves really, they're the most variable, or they're extremely variable. Any corrective pattern is very hard to predict, so it could go super high and then come down from there. But as I said, this might be a decent area to target for a scalp long. I just don't know exactly where that might go. But 60K seems like a reasonable place to target, at least for a first target on a scalp long there. And we should, off of the lows here, we should get a three-wave move up, and that can help us identify, okay, once we have A and B in place, we can identify where C is likely to end then. So that may help. If we grab some scalp longs here, that may help identify the final target then once we have A and B in place. And at that point in time, it may be, depending on how this looks, it may be a wise idea to short and potentially even sell, with a stop loss of some sort. But we'll deal with that when it comes. But we may be looking to short if that does in fact happen. It's not guaranteed to happen, obviously. We need to see this line break down first. But that is looking like a strong possibility. I'd say it's 50%. It's like 50-50 whether we get here or we just go sideways. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. All right, everybody, that's all I've got for tonight. So I'll catch you all tomorrow. Good night.